Welcome to episode 23 of Impacted, coming to you today via the Total Nonstop Impact Network. I'm your host, Bison, and today I'm joined by the TNI-UK team of Simply Steve and the Joker. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Yeah, we're doing well this end. Thanks, Bison.
How about you, Joe?
Welcome to the empty space of my mind, coming at you from the void.
I love it. I do. I love it. You are the strangest man that I know.
Thank you.
But I believe in the void. I believe in the empty space. So there you go. So it's all good. So anyway, guys, this week we're going to be focusing on this Saturday's Impact Plus special Sacrifice. We've got 9 matches to talk about later on today, guys. I'm actually really, really pumped for this, especially after this past week's Impact. I think it's going to be a pucker show. This one is going to be a pucker. Now, obviously, normally we do a few news items. There hasn't been a massive amount this week, so we'll just talk about a couple. Obviously, the big news coming out of Impact last night is that the Moose versus Rich Swann Sacrifice main event is now going to be a unification match, so they're unifying the TNA and the Impact Wrestling title. I guess there was a special mention last night where Scott talks about the TNA title having a lineage. So I guess what this sort of kind of almost does is pass the lineage onto the Impact title now. I guess maybe. So that would be interesting. But then coming out of that, the winner of the unification match at Sacrifice will go on to face the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega Rebellion. And that will be a winner-takes-all match. Obviously, AEW Impact Champion, winner takes all. What a main event. I think that's going to be set up to be, Joe. What do you think?
Oh, it was something I was expecting. I wasn't expecting it for Rebellion. I was expecting this to come for Slammiversary, but given how they're merging the titles now, Sacrifice, it does make sense there. It's better to get it all over and done with now and see how it carries forward from there. I'll be finishing off with my final thought on this when we're done. Give you guys a bit more of my insight into it. I'll pass the baton on to Steve.
Okay, Steve, what about your thoughts?
Yeah, and I'll give credit to them for setting it up a good month in advance as well, giving you given a lot of time to build it up and sort of prepare it and everything. But yeah, this will be a good match no matter who, either Swan or Moose is in it, because there's heat between all three of them really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will be a really, really good match no matter who's in that main event. And I think either way, whoever wins it, it's going to set a lot up.
I think what's interesting is this past week's Impact was probably one of the best shows of the year so far. And we say this quite regularly these days. But it certainly is definitely one of the top 3 shows of this year so far. And what I liked about the way that this one ran through was how they sort of kind of like set everything up, all the storytelling that went ahead. We had the whole, there's going to be a big announcement. Scott D'Amore in his office clearly talking to somebody. They weren't, disclosing who that was going to be. And then, of course, you find out that it's Don Callis at the end. And, the invisible hand is doing his wheelings and dealings and, making things happen for his buddy, Kenny Omega. So, I like the way this one is being put together. I think it's really good. I know that we talked about this either last week or the week before, where we talked about our thoughts on Kenny winning the title. We were sort of kind of like, well, maybe that boat sailed, because we just hadn't seen Kenny, had we, for a good month. Certainly 4 or 5 shows, and again, we still haven't seen him tonight. And we haven't seen Don either. So he's been, only really turning up on, Dynamite at the moment. But so it's interesting to see where this is all going to go from now on in, because now that they've set this up, we've got 4 or 5 weeks to we get to Rebellion. we're gonna see some stuff, aren't we? It's on a weekly basis. Kenny and Don are going to be on Impact again, aren't they? Moving forward over the next couple of weeks, because you've got to really set this one up. We've got to create a real sense of feud. Could we start seeing whoever wins on Saturday turn up on Dynamite now? Giving some promos there. I don't know. There's so much scope for this. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's either going to be Kenny turning up on Impact or, like you say, Moose or Swan turning up on Dynamite, and it's going to be one or the other. And if we do see Kenny win the Impact title at Rebellion, then like we all said, we feel like he's got to then stick around on Impact until he drops it, because you don't want him to win the title and then just go back to Dynamite and then defend it for like twice here and there. You want him to stick around on Impact, like he did to a degree the last time he turned up.
Exactly. I mean, if he's going to win the title, do I have an objection to him winning the title? Probably not, because he's going to elevate the title, isn't he? Let's face the facts. He is, renowned as one of the best wrestlers in the world, if not the best. So, him holding the Impact title, taking it to maybe AAA or, New Japan or wherever, as well as AEW, could be very, very interesting and really elevate the title to a real, high level. And once you start doing that, whoever wins it after that is it ultimately elevated also, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I'll add a bit more to that at the end, like I said. But again, if whoever wins that whoever wins at Sacrifice needs to really go onto AEW a bit more now and start spreading their weight around too. But I do think we're definitely going to be starting to see Don Callis and Kenny Omega back onto Impact Wrestling a bit more as the match builds up to add that hype. We've had this match with John Moxley and Kenny Omega, so maybe there could be some other outside interference for payback against Kenny Omega. But again, it's all. The door's wide open.
The forbidden door's wide open.
The forbidden door's wide open, and the invisible hand is still playing. So
exactly.
And Scott D'Amore's stuck in the middle.
Yes, that's the thing. Is Scott being played here? I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to find out, aren't we? We got, like you say, we got 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks or so up to Rebellion. What's gonna happen on both shows? It's gonna get crazy. I think Sacrifice is going to be the key in this, and where this goes, and who ends up being the person that is holding that unified Impact World title. We're not going to speculate who that is yet. We've got the rest of the preview to do that. Now, moving on, we also saw, now obviously we had AEW Revolution on Sunday. We also saw a release that morning of a kind of like teaser video from the Hall of Famer Kurt Angle. You saw him lacing his boots, putting on his ring attire, and to be fair, he was looking lean and mean. Incredible body for his age. Are we thinking? Yeah, and I think it was perfect timing to do it as well, because it was almost teasing that he was going to be one that turns up on AEW. I think there was speculation going crazy at that point, which then meant obviously the Kurt Angle thing sort of kind of almost went viral. Just everyone was talking about it. But he didn't turn up. Now, for me, this is great, because if it is a return of Kurt Angle, I want to see him on Impact Wrestling. I don't want to see him on any other promotion. I want the Hall of Fame, the Impact Hall of Fame, Kurt Angle, to turn back up or make a surprise return to Impact Wrestling, because the options for him are intense. Because even if it's not in ring, he's a fantastic promo guy. He's a great locker room leader. He's a great leader, a potential leader of a faction. I mentioned on Twitter the other day, MEM, Main Event Mafia. Maybe there's an opportunity to rebirth, a brand spanking new Main Event Mafia that he is sort of kind of like the leader of. So, guys like Jake something, Rohit Raju, maybe these up and coming talents that he could sort of mentor, Josh Alexander. Just imagine Josh Alexander under the tutelage of the legend, the Hall of Famer Kurt Angle, to eventually possibly lead to a falling out in a match between the two, Bound for Glory or something. How cool would that be? What do you think, Joe?
Oh, you're getting my juices flowing thinking about that. Oh God! And the other prospect, of course, is if Kurt Angle comes back, we could get Angle versus Omega.
Oh, again, all these options are just incredible, and it doesn't matter whether, I mean, in fairness, if he turns up on AEW, it still doesn't mean he's not going to turn up on Impact. I just think it would be great if he was signed to Impact.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Come home to Impact Wrestling.
Exactly. And who knows if we do end up with that AEW versus Impact show, the teams that we think, seem to be building. We've seen the tracksuits and all this kind of stuff. They've all got these. And it's almost like you're getting a Team Impact and a Team AEW. Who better to lead Team Impact than Kurt Angle?
Exactly.
That would be incredible. What about you, Steve? You a big Kurt Angle fan or?
Oh yeah, well it's just like Joe then said, about Angle Omega. I sort of thought, well, imagine if we get Moose and Omega, and then Moose wins it. Imagine if Angle then walks out and stares at Moose down. What a match that would be!
Oh yeah, I mean the possibilities in there. I mean, we're talking dream match stuff for these young guys. I mean, who would have thought that that potentially you could have saw Josh Alexander versus Kurt Angle? Who thought you might potentially see Kurt Angle versus Sami Callihan? Who thought there would be a possibility to see Kurt Angle versus Kenny Omega?
I'm kind of glad he didn't go to AEW, because you look at what they do, and I just don't think he'd have fitted in there.
I just feel that at this point in his career, to go back to the company that made him, a Hall of Famer for the first time, let's face the facts, he didn't end up in the Hall of Fame in the WWE until after his Hall of Fame induction for TNA Impact Wrestling. It would just be a really cool moment, I mean, he spent 10 years being the man for TNA. To come back and be the man again, I think would be.
And I don't know what you sort of think of this, but I was sort of thinking, like the other day, we haven't seen Shamrock for a while. What if they come back together?
Oh,
yeah. I mean, you got maybe it could become the Hall of Fame Mafia. Who knows? But like you say, you could. Yeah, I mean, you could put together one hell of a team. Of guys, one hell of a faction when it comes to Kurt, and he would be an amazing person to help elevate those guys, take them to the next level, make them become even more relevant. They could be the guys that were tutored by Kurt Angle. That would be just amazing for me. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Final thoughts on that, Steve? What do you think? Good or bad? Got to be good, right?
Oh yeah. Like I say, I mean, if any time Angle's looking to get back into the ring or back in the business, is great. And yeah, like I say, Impact will always be where we love Angle most, because it's where he felt most relevant.
I think he was in his prime. He did his best work on Impact Wrestling or TNA, whatever. I'm a big Angle fan, and I'm going to mark out big time if that happens.
Yeah.
How about you, Joe?
Oh, Kurt Angle coming back to Impact Wrestling would be awesome. It'd be real. It's damn real.
Damn real. Yeah, no, it's great. Okay, so I think we've told Kurt now. If you're watching the show, Kurt, you probably don't, but if you are watching the show, we love you. Get your ass back.
Yeah, I've got some milk ready for you to come back.
Yes, mate, we love it. A bit of milk and we've already had the Rock with pie. Turn up for the Hall of Fame induction. How cool would it be to have Kurt Angle come back with his milk? That'd be great. So I actually, funny enough, I was looking through some stuff the other day, and I came across that really infamous promo where it was The Rock and Kurt Angle, and obviously The Rock was talking about pie, which we all know what the metaphor for that is, and Angle starts talking about, you know, what goes well with pie, and he talks about milk, and then it goes into jugs of milk. And he was going to go off to the cafeteria and find the first pair of jugs he could, and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was brilliant. It was such a good promo. I really, you know, I just remembered how good he was on, you know, when it comes to promo, and he's just so good. And he could put his hand to anything. He's so believable. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him back. I really would love to see Kurt Angle turn back up. I mean, maybe Rebellion, maybe Sacrifice, who knows? It would be amazing to see him turn up. Now, moving on from that, I thought we would take care of the TNI Tribe Question of the Week straight off the bat. Now, this week, it comes from Joseph Brentar. I hope I've said that right, because I try and take pride in making sure that I pronounce people's names right. So if I'm not, let me know in the comments below. But Joseph Brentar, he asked us, what do you guys think about Impact returning to the UK for another Maximum Impact tour, perhaps later this year or maybe even next year, when things obviously start to open up again? And do you see them going to Wembley, or, you know, maybe some smaller venues like York Hall or places like that? But there's another part to this question which we'll talk about in a minute. What do you think on this, guys?
I'll let Steve go, because I'll be going on for a little while.
Fair enough. Well, yeah. Obviously, when things go back to their normal state, I mean, they haven't been to the UK for quite some time now, I don't think. But
I think 2018, wasn't it? Was that the last one?
The last time was, yeah, there was there was a Comic Con. There was in Manchester. There's Sami Callihan versus Jimmy Havoc.
Yeah, they did a Comic Con one, but they didn't. That wasn't a Maximum Impact tour, was it? I'm sure it was either 2017 or 2018 was the last one. But you know, for me,
they didn't do them regularly. That's what I sort of.
Yeah. No. Well, they were doing it regular. They were doing it regular. I think they did it 8 years on the trot, didn't they? And then obviously they were starting to hit those few financial issues.
Yeah.
We had the Kurt Angle. I think, funny enough, I think the Kurt Angle sort of kind of retirement tour was the last time. So that would have been 2018, wouldn't it?
Yes. And
then I think in 2019 is when they did that Comic Con thing. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, it was around then, yes.
Yeah.
So, but for me, I think the bottom line is that they have to come back to the UK.
Yeah, well, the UK's around, back then, I don't know if they would still be now, because things are starting to pick up with Impact. But back then, the UK tours were always their biggest drawn shows, weren't they? So
mate, there was 12,000 at Wembley, wasn't there? Let's face it, it was a 12,000 show. That was. I mean, I went to the Maximum Impact tours. I did a couple of the Wembley gigs, and you know, Wembley Arena, I should say, to make sure we clarify that. There must have been a good. I think it was 10 to 12,000, something like that. Crazy ass, you know, British Impact fans, you know, and. You know, it is no lie to say that the UK fan base are you know, ravenous for it, and it's purely based on the fact that we can't go and see Impact every single week, or currently every year at the moment. So you know, when we do get them, you know, people are absolutely insane for it. I mean, what do you think, Joe?
I've never been to a live wrestling event to date. So if Impact Wrestling was to come back to the UK later this year, preferably next year, when the all the guidelines and all this stuff is really, really set in stone, everyone knows what's actually happening. So for me, mid next year would be the best time. Summer, maybe autumn next year. But if they come back to the UK, I'm going to try and get to a show one way or another. You know, I was just reading that question from Joseph, it put a huge smile on my face, just imagining he asked if all of us from the TNI guys would get together, you know, and do some live broadcast or something with them there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility that there's no reason why we couldn't necessarily go live if we were at the event. I think that would be really cool. I think
Yeah.
I think what he was also talking about was the possibility of doing the whole meet and greet with the listeners thing, like the US guys do. Do you know what? You know, I'm down with doing something like that. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to pay for you all to have your pizzas or whatever, but you could buy your own damn pizzas. But I I think it would be a really cool thing to do to
It'd be great. I'd love that.
Meet up with some of you guys. You know, and yeah. I mean, you know, if it's something that you want us to do, guys, leave us a comment below. Let us know, because I'll happily organize something. Yeah, just leave us a comment down below. Let us know that it's something that you want to do, and I'm sure that as soon as Impact come back to the UK, we can set something up for you know, one of the dates, if not a couple of the dates, a couple of shows that they run. We might be able to get to more than one.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really, really cool thing to do. And like you say, we could maybe do some sort of kind of like Facebook Live or something, or Twitter Live or something like that, where we go live at the event.
Yeah.
Which I think would be pretty cool too. We could maybe get a couple of you guys on the, you know, involved as well. When we sort of kind of go live, you could maybe get involved when we're at the show. Got to say this now, I'm going to be front row. So, you know, you're going to have to get front row if you want to be with the Bison. But you know, bottom line is, yeah, I think it would be really cool.
Yeah.
And the other part to your question where you talked about the venues. Now, for me, you know, maybe it would be the right decision to look at a couple of smaller venues for the first tour back. You know, just to, you know, maybe a York Hall would be quite good. There's an amazing venue here, actually, just down the road from where I am. It's the Essex Sport Arena, which can hold about, probably about, I'd say, getting on for 3,000 fans if you know, included the floor seats and everything else. I think it's got two sides that can come in, so you've got the tiered seating. You can have the fans around the ring and everything. I think it'd be a great venue. And it's red as well. Like the seats are red, everything's red. So that would be quite cool for an Impact taping, I reckon.
Yeah, I see it being a bit more smaller spaces, really, just to get used to how everything's going to be put in place, because there's still going to be things like social distancing and that next year. So a small venue, like the one they went to in Manchester for the Comic-Con, that would be a good one to even go to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know how many that held, but that was what, 500-600, wasn't it?
It was pretty big for a small location.
Yeah,
but, you know,
that was where we saw that amazing match between LAX versus Jody Fleisch, Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm? Yeah, Johnny Storm. That was one hell of a match. I remember that. You know, big fan of Johnny and Jody from back in the day. They were two of my favorite wrestlers from the UK on the UK scene, and they're still going strong today. So check out Jody and Johnny Storm's Twitter. They've got some great highlight reels up. It's definitely worth looking at. Some fantastic UK talent. That was a great match. I remember at the end they sort of kind of like shook hands and embraced. It was amazing. It was such a good match. But that was at that Comic-Con event. That was amazing. Now, okay, so thank you ever so much for your question, Joseph. If anybody else has got any questions, don't forget, you know, we want to give you a shout out on the show. We want to answer your question. Just leave it in the comments below. You know, if you don't agree with anything we've said, leave that down in the comments below as well. You know, because at the end of the day, you know, our opinion, this is just our opinion. You know, we don't even all agree. So it's great to have everyone's opinion on the show. So yeah, don't forget to leave your comments below on anything, absolutely anything that we're talking about today. But yeah, definitely leave us a nice question for us to answer next week. That'd be great. In fact, next week, because we're not doing a preview or next week we're doing the review. So yeah, we'll only do one, but maybe the following week we'll do maybe 2 or 3. Okay, so let's get stuck in the sacrifice, boys. Now, match one. Now, I'm just going to go on the way that they are releasing the information on their website. Whether this is the order they're going to go in, I'm not sure. But the first match being advertised on the card at the moment is a Tennille, Caleb with a K versus Havoc and Nevaeh tag match. Now, I don't know what your thoughts on this one is, but I find this one to be a bit weird. I don't really get how this sort of like came about. Really, it just seems all of a sudden. Is it going to be good? I'm sure it will be. Tennille's been on fire over the last sort of kind of like month or so. She's been sort of kind of putting on some good shows, some good matches. So Caleb is just great in his character, what he does. He's perfect. I think the matchup between the two is good. We've got that kind of, but we've got this sort of kind of tension between Havoc and Nevaeh at the moment. So I'm not sure whether this is more geared towards, is there a rift here? Is Nevaeh gonna turn on Havoc or Havoc turn on Nevaeh, or possibly it's not quite there, is it? It's not quite there, Steve.
No, it feels like there's an idea for this story, and then it's going in this direction, then this direction. That 1 minute you think where it's going, then you don't, then you do, then you don't. I'm really confused on where this is going now, because like I say, you thought that Havoc and Nevaeh were going to feud, and then Havoc, Nevaeh comes out and helps Havoc, and now they're teaming together again. Although they still don't seem 100% on the same page. But yeah, it is a very, very kind of weird storyline, this one.
What about you, Joe?
I'm looking for. I think this match is going to be again about building the storyline between Havoc and Nevaeh more than anything else. Tennille Dashwood she's been jabbing and prodding Havoc, over the past couple of weeks to try and muscle in as her new partner, undermining Nevaeh. So obviously Nevaeh coming out to help Havoc the week before and probably wasn't to save her partner. It was probably more to just get retribution for herself. So it's going to be Havoc and Nevaeh are going to work as a solid unit, but where it goes from there, then are they going to stay in the ring together and celebrate, or is Nevaeh just going to like raise a hand and walk off like we're my job's done, that's it, let me do my own thing now?
I'd also be intrigued. I was also intrigued with something that I think Stryker said, that Tennille's kind of been looking for a partner. Maybe the one she wanted was in front of her all the time. Like, are they kind of leading towards Tennille and Caleb maybe going for the Knockouts tag titles like Eric Young and ODB did once?
I don't know. I mean, there could be a possibility of something like that. I'd be very interested if they did. Okay, so let's go with who we think is going to win. Now, I'm going to go with Tennille and Caleb on this one. What are your thoughts, Steve? Who do you think is going to win the match?
Yeah, I'm going with Tennille and Caleb too, I think.
I'm just writing these down, guys, just so you know. Right, I'm writing it all down. Okay, and what about your fine self, Joe? What are you thinking?
I'm going to go with Havoc and Nevaeh. I think Nevaeh's going to get the pinfall, because one thing she hasn't done, she's lost a lot of matches and she's yet to really pick up a victory apart from that one singles victory this year. So it's going to be something to give Nevaeh more momentum and more attitude. So again, she can say, "I got the job done." To Havoc, I got the job done. I finished it. So let me do my own thing. So that's how I see it. And going back to what we're saying, like could this be a full blown team like between Caleb with the K and Tennille Dashwood? Well, we got Rosemary and Crazy Steve.
That's a potential. That's an option, isn't it?
Yeah, so it'd be good to just have a little bit of back and forth, to break up the card over the couple of weeks, and if they're stuck for something else to do.
Or Rosemary and Taurus.
Oh, Rosemary and Black Taurus would just destroy everybody.
Talking about Black Taurus, did you notice that he's turned up on the roster page now?
Yes,
he's been on there ever since he debuted.
How has he really?
Yeah.
So it must be then. So he must be actually a signed talent.
Must be. Yeah.
Then they don't put people on there if they're not signed to at least some kind of deal.
James Stone's on there now as well.
I noticed that as well. He's turned up. Yeah. So Yeah, that excites me. You know, James Storm. Ooh.
Yeah. James Storm's only just now gone on, but yeah, Back Taurus has been on there ever since he debuted.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I'm chuffed for that. That's great. Now, okay, so moving on from that one, we then go into match 2. And again, like I said, guys, don't forget to leave us your comments. You know, what are your thoughts on Tennille, Caleb with a K, Havoc and Nevaeh? You know, who do you think is going to win this one? How, you know, what were your thoughts on the way this one was built? Leave your comments down below. Now, the next match, talking about Decay, is set up for another tag match. It seems to be a little bit of a recurring theme so far. The first 3 matches on the card, the way that they've got it set out on the website anyway, are tag matches. But anyway, so we've got Decay versus Reno Scum. Now, again, this match for me was a little bit weird, because there was no real side of this one until this past week on Impact, when we had a bit of a backstage sort of kind of confrontation between Reno Scum and DK. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one, Joe?
Well, the way they set it up was that they were going to go after Triple XL, and AC Romero ran away as soon as he saw Rosemary. So, you know, he needs to call them the Ghostbusters before they go back against DK. And Reno Scum, they're like, we're not going to walk away. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. And they're not going to run away from a fight. And of course, Rosemary wants to sacrifice for sacrifice.
Exactly. She's got to sacrifice somebody. She's Rosemary. She's got to sacrifice somebody at sacrifice.
Yeah, the high's been waiting patiently. You know, the children are being rewarded.
Definitely. What about you, Steve? What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this match did kind of come out of nowhere, didn't it? You sort of just see like 2 tag teams and it's sort of like, okay, where's this going? I mean, I didn't even realize to begin with until I watched it a second time that they'd actually made the match.
Yeah, no. It was weird. I was kind of like, wow, this has come out of nowhere. But for me, anything that involves Decay and Reno Scum is going to be good, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. My only critique is, sadly, someone's got to lose.
Yeah, and I think the way that they're pushing Decay at the moment, I think is probably going to be Reno Scum.
Yeah, definitely. Sadly.
I mean, you could tell that the way that they are using Reno Scum at the moment is very liberally, because obviously Adam Thornstar, as we all know, is a frontline worker. So currently at the moment, he's obviously doing a lot of work with regards to the pandemic stuff. You know, he works in a hospital. So I think that, you know, this one, you know, they don't know basically, you know, how much they can have Adam. They don't know if he's going to be at the next set of tapings. You know, he might not be in the next set of tapings. So they set something up in this one. And then it doesn't go anywhere because he's not around. So I could see why they're being very liberal, Reno Scum, at the moment. Of course, you know, to make sure, you know, they get some matches in or whatever, I think it's probably the right move for them at the moment. It's just a shame that, you know, pretty much every match that they're going to have at this tapings, I think, will be a loss. You know, it's a shame. But I firmly believe that the way that they're pushing Decay at the moment, this is going to be a Decay win.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I can't argue that. Can't disagree there.
You know, the end of the day, they're pushing Decay as a major player now. You know, and the thing is, they can go any way with them as well, because you know, you've got Rosemary as the knockout, you've got Steven and Taurus, both potential X Division guys and the tag team, and also you've got the potential to have a multi, you know, like a male and female tag team with either Taurus or Steve with Rosemary. You know, so there's so many options that they can go with this faction. You know, they can go after. I would love, and I got to say this, that I think Decay as Taurus and Crazy Steve as a tag team should make a title run. I don't necessarily mean they would to win it, but we should at least see some kind of push for them to take that title. I think that would be amazing. So for me, Decay, for you, Steve Decay, and for you, Joe Decay.
Obviously, Decay.
Decay. Love it. Okay, so then we move on to match 3. And again, this is a tag match again. And this again was made on this past week on Impact. There was a lot happened on this past week on Impact to set up Sacrifice. So a lot happened. And that is Violent by Design versus Storm and Saban. I love to call it beer guns. And, bottom line is, again, a bit weird how this one sort of came about, but I think it's going to be a really, really good match. Storm and Saban this past week on Impact got a win. They were absolutely incredible. James Storm just blew my mind at how good he is at, he's like 3 years younger than me. The guy is immense. And I'm so glad he's come back to Impact Wrestling. I put a tweet out literally, during this match was going on when I was watching it at 3 o'clock this morning. And I was just like, my God, this guy, I'm so happy this man is back on Impact TV. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, like you say, it did come a bit out of nowhere because they looked like they were going to have something with Rohit and Shearer. And then suddenly they bump into Violent by Design. Although I will say, when they bumped into Violent by Design, the scene that they were in, it looked like kind of Storm when he was with his Revolution faction. It gave me that kind of vibe. It was very kind of like, hang on, is Storm going to join them?
Oh, I see what you mean.
It looked very much like Storm may have a flashback to, hang on, I was here with my Revolution. It gave me that kind of vibe.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, very similar to that feel. What about you, Joe? What do you think?
There's a lot of history between Eric Young, Saban, and James Storm, which is the main catalyst is why they they saw what was happening to Dina. It's the main reason why they confronted them. More than anything, the whole thing seemed to take place after that Eric Young had punished Dina, so it's almost like a flashback to the week before, but rather than the fact that James Storm was in the attire that he was in the match in. But it sort of seems like to be a flashback to last week to remind everyone what had happened then. And James Storm is someone who doesn't like disrespect. From in the ring, backstage, from the crowd, and they're backing that up again now with this match. And Jake something is saying to them, I'm going to come out with you guys because we all know you can't trust Eric Young to let you guys just go at it and solve it that way. So Jake something's on the card as well, out as a manager rather than in the ring, but still we're going to see something between Eric Young and Jake something too. So this match it's a great way to keep Violent by Design and Jake something relevant.
I think so.
While not being in direct contact with each other. So it's continuing that on, and we saw Rohit and Shearer split up from each other too. So it's a good direction for James Storm and Chris Sabin to go in while we see what happens with the Good Brothers and Finn Juice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we're definitely going to see a push with regards to beer guns heading towards that title.
I thought they dropped the ball with Jake for a little while because he was he'd taken that step into like the main event scene a few weeks ago, and then last week he wasn't even on the show, and now I was like, well, he's only like as an enforcer to a degree now. But then you think of it again, and he's like, well, actually, he's being put with Storm and Saban, and that's a big step. So you think of it.
He's being put.
Actually, that is a step. That is a step up.
Yeah, he's being put probably with the two biggest veterans of the.
Even though it is being back with Violent by Design, he's back there with Storm and Saban. So it's
it is storytelling at its finest. To be fair, it's making sure that that the yes, potentially sort of kind of done with Violent by Design, but at the same time, you can't just drop it. You have to sort of kind of move away from it. It'd be interesting to see where this one goes. I'm going to go with beer guns on this one because I think that they're heading towards another push towards a title. Do I think Beer Guns are going to eventually get that title? I don't know. I think it would be cool if they did. But I just see them being pushed into that title scene again. So, and deservedly so. I mean, James Storm and Saban together are just incredible. They really are. They're just incredible. Amazing team to watch. Very exciting. End-to-end stuff. Yeah. I mean, James has not missed a step, has he? I mean, he's so fast. Same with Saban. They've got their team strategies all set up beautifully. Yeah, great team.
Yeah,
and I can see you're smiling at me, Joe, because you know how much I love James Storm.
I'm a huge James Storm fan too, and Chris Sabin. I've not seen a lot of Chris Sabin until he'd come back in recently, and he's so impressive as well. And I never underestimated how good Chris Sabin was, but to see him now really go into full flow, because we sadly didn't see enough of that with the Motor City Machine Guns with the North. But James Storm is really showcasing just what Chris Sabin can do now a lot more, and that their tandem offense and double team moves is just, you'd think they've been teaming together for ages. It just shows how good they are on their own and with anybody. James Storm's had Chris Harris as a tag team partner, and Chris Sabin's had God knows how many other partners apart from Alex Shelley.
Yeah. I think it's the psychology of tag team wrestling. They get it. They totally understand it. That's why they got to the top of their game. And it doesn't matter who their partner is. If you've got someone else that's also been to the top of their game in tag team wrestling, they're going to work, I'm sure. I mean, they've been friends for, 20 odd years or whatever it is. So, bottom line is this one hell of a team. And I'm all for it. Beer, Guns, you know what I'm saying? I think they're going to be great. I'm going to go with Beer Guns. What are you going for, Joe?
I'm going to go with Violent by Design.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that something's going to happen between Eric Young and Jake or James Storm. Eric Young is going to do something to take out one of the guys in the match. Yeah. So it'll lead to Dina and Joe Dorian getting a victory to not make Violent by Design that week, and it won't do much damage to James Storm
because they'll probably make it Jake's fault. Is that what you're saying?
It'll keep Jake something's involvement with Violent by Design a bit more relevant too if they beat James Storm.
Yeah. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, this is a tough one to call, isn't it? Because I feel like Storm and Sabin, like you say, are on a roll, and having Jake out there really does counter the equalizer. But Violent by Design have been on a bit of a losing streak, so they can't really afford that other lose. And I'm tempted to go with Violent by Design because of that.
Okay.
Yeah, like Joe says, you feel like I think EY and Jake will probably counter each other and kind of maybe take each other away from the ring, and then either probably Storm will get distracted by something or taken away from the ring slightly, and then Dina and Doring or kind of 2-on-1 Sabin or something. Or we could see another member of Violent by Design debut.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, maybe that there is a possibility, because I'm still, I still think Violent by Design is gonna be, a 5-person faction. I think it's another 2 people to add to that, and I think one's going to be brought in and one's going to be someone else on the roster. So it's going to be very interesting how VBD goes on, continues on, and of course, where does Tony Khan come into all of this? Remember? He did go on about it being a get them and us. Remember?
Yeah.
So
what was that? Sorry, who was that?
Tony Khan. He did in his promo that they did, or the advert that their paid ad that he did last week. He spoke about it being them and us. If you remember, meaning WWE and then Impact, AEW and New Japan. Do you remember?
Yeah, it's definitely something brewing there, even if it was just another cheeky jab from the competition to the Top Gun.
There was definitely something there, and I start to think that, is Tony Khan the real kind of, behind Violent by Design? Is Tony going to turn out to be the leader of VBD? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like say you've got Don Callis as the invisible hand.
But when you see EY doing what he's doing in Violent by Design, and then you look at Tony Khan, do you see them cut from the same cloth?
But that's exactly what I'm saying. It's just totally, you just would not expect that to be the case, would you?
Yeah, it'd
Like,
be interesting.
It'd be the most unexpected thing that you would expect. Like, honestly, really, like Tony is being this Mr. Nice Guy, and he makes now think about it. Think about it. Everything that he said in all of his paid ads about him, he's the forbidden door. He's Mr. Nice Guy of wrestling, of pro wrestling. He is, he's the one making all this happen. Blah blah blah. But all along, right, he's the man behind Violent by Design.
Unexpected isn't always good.
But you never know. I mean, who expected Bully Ray to end up becoming being the leader of Aces and Eights? We didn't expect that at the time, did we? So, it's just one of those things. You just never know, do you? So there we go. So you're going to go with Violent by Design, Joe and Steve, and I'm going to go with Beer Guns on this one because I think they just got that momentum to go for another title shot. So, but we'll see. So leading into match 4 then, and this is interesting because obviously we had another promo on or vignette or whatever you want to call it on this past week on Impact. We had Brian Myers turning up in Scott D'Amore's office, basically, wanting Eddie Edwards fired. He was attempting to drown Scott in paperwork, and you had like piles and piles of legal jargon by all accounts. And I love the fact Brian says, "Did you manage to get through it all?" And he's like, "Well, I pretty much, yeah." I thought it was quite funny, and I love the way he's like, "Well, to be fair, court stuff is well, it's what we do." You know what I mean? Like, I loved all of that. I thought it was really good. I think Brian is playing a really good role in this. But I've never heard of a hold harmless match. Okay, and I didn't realize it was a hardcore match at all. But again, it seems like Brian didn't know what a hold harmless match was either. He was thinking it was possibly a submission match or mat wrestling match or something along those sort of lines. But it turns out that it's a hardcore match. Anything goes. No hold bars or whatever you want to call it. It's this is another classic kind of hardcore from Eddie Edwards, but this time it's not Sami Callihan, it's Brian Myers. Where do you think this is going to go, Joe?
It's gonna it's going to be a lot more mat wrestling than people are going to be giving credit for. There's going to be a lot more grappling and stuff from Myers and Eddie Edwards. It's not going to be, I got a chair, I'm going to bash you with this. It's going to be a nice mix and match. I think Eddie Edwards is probably going to walk out on top. To put Brian Myers in his place, he's expecting an easy romp regardless, even if he seems a bit more thrown off his game. The match isn't a submission match, so something that he thinks he's much more better at because he's the most professional wrestler. I'm also a bit more interested to see where Matt Cardona goes with this, or is because I know he said he's sticking around a bit longer, but now when he wasn't on tonight, it had me thinking, well, is this it for him now after the moves to referee? Because I from what I gathered, he was going to be there after Sacrifice from what he'd said.
Yeah, I think he said he's already confirmed that he's definitely at the next set of tapings. What I find interesting with the Matt stuff is that Matt doesn't have to be there for you to sort of kind of feel his presence. I mean, he put out some tweets last night with regards to making sure you watch the show and all that kind of stuff, and he wasn't even on it. So, I think that he is very much involved now. He's very much getting into being a part of Impact Wrestling, and I'm excited to see if he does end up eventually signing some kind of like, multi-year contract of some sort. I think he would be such a good addition to the roster. I'd love it. Do I think he's going to get involved in this match? Yeah, I think we're going to see Matt Cardona in this match at some point.
It could be a setup for him to turn against Eddie Edwards.
Yeah, and also, there has been so many rumors going around at the moment with regards to Davey Richards. Are we going to see Davey Richards turn up, and could we sort of see the introduction of the Wolves again? Could you imagine the Wolves versus the Good Brothers? Could you imagine the Wolves versus, I don't know, Reno Scum versus Triple XL versus Decay versus Storm Beer Guns? We could be talking some seriously cool matches for the Wolves, couldn't we?
Yeah,
definitely.
Sorry,
you've still got, you could always use tag teams, because Eddie's, ever since he's lost the title to EY, he's kind of been a bit lost, hasn't he? So
see, that's exactly, I agree with that totally, Steve. I think he's a bit lost at the moment, and I think, yes, he is a hell of a hardcore wrestler. He's a tough son of a bitch, Eddie Edwards. Anyone that can do the things that he does, match. I mean, Sammy again, another tough son of a bitch. Is Brian Myers going to be, another tough son of a bitch as well? I think one thing's for sure is that Impact's got quite a few tough sons of bitches on that roster. But how many more of these sort of kind of like super heavy hardcore matches can we see from Eddie before we need to sort of try and give him another direction? And I just feel that Davey Richards turning up to save him from, I don't know, something. And then we get the reunion of the Wolves, I think would be really cool. Whether it happens at Sacrifice, I don't know. But certainly at some point in 2021, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, the Wolves have got unfinished business with Decay, because I think it was Decay that broke the Wolves down. But we've also got bad blood between Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards still too. So it could be Matt Cardona comes out to help Eddie Edwards, and Davey Richards comes out to help Brian Myers. So whichever way it goes, if Davey Richards is indeed going to be coming back, it's going to be brilliant.
Definitely.
It's so Matt Cardona and Eddie Edwards as a tag team, they work really well together. And it's star power, but they work together like double teaming and that perfectly too. So that they clicked.
All right. So who are you going to go with for the match, though?
I'm going to go with Eddie Edwards.
I thought you might. Yeah, I'm going to go Eddie Edwards as well. What about you, Steve?
Well, I'm going to go different. I'm going to go for Myers on this one.
Oh, we got a heel.
Oh.
Yeah, well, it's just sort of thing with this promo that they done backstage. Fantastic promo, by the way. I think Scott and Myers just have great chemistry together.
They do. Yeah, you're right.
I just sort of think you got Myers kind of being put in like a match with Eddie he doesn't want to be in, and you kind of feel like if Myers can beat him at his own game, then it's going to put Myers in this even more like kind of like, now what do you want from me, Scott, kind of thing.
Yeah, I can see that too, and it does also, but again, it carries on Myers' heel role a lot more. He says I'm the most professional wrestler, but he still has to win matches by bashing the hell out of someone with a chair or a kendo stick.
Yeah, that's true actually. So hey, if you want to go around bashing people, then just stick you in a hardcore match. I think, I just think it's going to be one hell of a match, and I think you're right. I think Steve, you could be right. You could be right.
There's always the chance, considering it's the like you say, as it's a anything goes match or whatever, that because there's still the Myers Hernandez connection.
Yeah, but then having said that, for the last couple of weeks, not really seen it, have we? So
maybe they've let you forget about it on purpose.
So that all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, so all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere, and they're like, oh God, we forgot about that.
Yeah, there is a potential of that, definitely. So Joe and me are going to go Eddie Edwards on this one, and you're going to go Brian Myers, Steve. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to this one. I do love a good hardcore match.
Yeah, it'll be a good match.
I love Eddie Edwards. Like whatever match Eddie Edwards is in is always great. Is great.
Yeah.
You know, and it always delivers every single time. And Brian Myers again, another great wrestler. So you put both those guys together, I think you're going to get a classic hardcore matchup at Sacrifice. It's going to be really strong. So heading into match 5, we now get into our first title match. Now, like I said, I don't know if this is the order they're going in. I'm just going with the order that they're on the website. But we've got the X Division title match. That is TJP versus Ace Austin. Now, for me, this has got match of the night written all over it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
undoubtedly. It's
I mean,
inevitable.
I think it's inevitable that this is going to be match of the night. I also think it's inevitable that this is going to be the first title change, and Ace Austin's going to become X Division champion. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, like I say, this is really, it's like you say, it's got match of the night written all over it. I've thought that TJP, wrestling wise, has always been one of the strongest wrestlers in the X Division, because he's one of these wrestlers that can do it all: submission, high flying, mat wrestling. And when you look at him in the ring, he has the ability to be the champion. The only thing he suffers from is outside the ring, like mic work and to a degree charisma. But I thought his title reign has been decent, but for me, yeah, Ace is gonna take the title, I think, from him here.
Yeah, he's the man. Okay, what about you, Joe?
Yeah, Ace Austin is going to win this match. That match he had with Chris Bay this week was one of the best matches of the year.
Definitely.
If you guys haven't watched this week's Impact Wrestling, then just jump straight to Ace Austin versus Chris Bay. That was absolutely fantastic. And to like going back to what Steve said about TJP's ability, before BTI, TJP took on Madman Fulton, and they had an absolute classic as well. So you got to see what Ace Austin and what TJP are going to be bringing to this match. And even though if you've not been paying attention to them for the past 2-3 years that Ace Austin's been at the company, then you've missed a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I think it's like you said. The bottom line is Ace Austin is a shining star of Impact Wrestling. Our TNI team have said it so many times. Ace Austin reminds them of a young Chris Sabin, a young AJ Styles. You know, but what I think Ace has on AJ Styles at the age that he's at now is his promo skills. His ability to act are so superior. It's insane. He's so good when it comes to, you know, the mic work, you know, the Vignette stuff, his acting ability, you know, forward in storylines. He's so good at all of that, you know, and then you add that to his incredible in-ring ability as well. You know, you've got a champion. You have got a future Impact World Champion in Ace Austin.
Because AJ Styles took a long while to get his personality. When he back in like 2002, 2003, 2004, he didn't really have, you know, he had a bit of one, but it wasn't at the level of Ace Austin's. No,
it took him a while. It took AJ quite a while to really settle into creating his persona. You know, he wasn't particularly convincing on the mic for years. He is now. I mean, he is now, and later on in his Impact TNA career, you know, he was solid. But you know, to begin with, he's not as strong as Ace. I mean, Ace is just so good at all aspects of wrestling. You know, the guy can promo, he can act, and he can go. You know what? You know, he's an all-round package. You know, he's what I'd call, you know, a 5-star, you know, professional wrestler in the making, and he ain't far off it already, in my opinion.
No, definitely not. No, and I will say, Joe mentioned in that match today with Bay and Ace Austin. Shout out to Chris Bay for breaking out the code red. I ain't seen that for years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was just an incredible match, wasn't it? This past, I'd love to know all your comments on Ace Austin. I'd love to know your comments on Chris Bay and Ace's match this week. Leave them down below in the comment section.
Yeah. All I can say is I can't do it justice. Make sure you watch it.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard because it's just so good, so good. Okay, well that's that match. I mean, I think we're pretty unified on what we think of Ace Austin, and
It's inevitable who's going to win.
and who's going to win.
Mm.
I definitely think that Ace Austin is going to become the next X Division champion. And then of course I think the feud will be Chris Bay versus Ace.
And Josh Alexander's also getting his nose back in too.
He certainly is.
Yeah.
I think it's about time we saw an Ultimate X match at some point. So there you go. Maybe Rebellion.
Yes.
That would be very cool. Ultimate X match. Imagine Josh Alexander, obviously Ace Austin is champion, Chris Bay, Suicide. Can you imagine it? I mean, we're talking Taurus maybe.
Oh, that'd be good. And
that would be-
TJP will probably be in there too.
TJP, yeah, an Ultimate X match with those guys would be just outstanding. But anyway, getting the juices flowing here. Too much fantasy booking going on. But moving on to match 6 of the night, we've got a Knockouts title match, which is Diana Purrazzo, the current champion, 2-time champ, versus the 4-time champ. She said it was 4 times. I thought it was 5. But tonight she confirmed that it was 4 times Knockouts champion, ODB. Bam! Is she going to be a 5-time Knockouts champion come Sacrifice? Now, I know that I would love to see ODB. I think we talked about this last week. I would love to see ODB have a little short run at the Knockouts title to then maybe accumulate, end up with ODB versus Diana at Rebellion for Diana to potentially win that back. Maybe, I don't know. Just a thought for me. I just think it would be really cool to see ODB holding that title up aloft, giving it some serious, meet and greet. Anyway, what are your thoughts on that, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm a big fan of ODB, always have been. And it would be a great sight to see her hold the Knockouts championship and see her be, as she calls herself, a 5-time knocked up champion.
Exactly.
But to me, I think it will give Diana another step if she can beat ODB, like kind of back when Moose was beating all like the legends and kind of saying like, I'm this legend killer. It'll kind of be that for Diana as she is doing right now. Like if she beats ODB, and I think we all assume Jazz may then challenge. If she can then beat Jazz, she say, well, I'm beating these legends and I'm kind of, I line them up, I'll knock them down kind of thing. It's a feather in her cap kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is what they are doing. Maybe that's where they're going with it, and Jazz alluded to there's more of them coming back a couple of weeks ago, if you remember, when ODB made her return. She alluded saying that there was, quite a few of us coming back, if you remember. So, and I'm still pretty sure Taylor Wilde is going to turn up at some point. So, and again, like you say, maybe Taylor Wilde coming back is another fantastic, former knockout champion for Diana to take out. I don't know. But what I do think is that whatever Diana Purrazzo does, whoever she goes in with, it's always a really, really good match. And I'm looking forward to it. But I'm gonna go with my heart, not my head. I'm gonna go with my heart, and I'm gonna go with ODB. Bam! What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Diana on this one and say that she keeps the title.
Okay, Joe.
Oh God, do I want a 5-time knockouts champion? Yes, I do. I really, really do. But I do see Diana Purrazzo winning this match, and it possibly again leading to her bragging that she's beaten everybody who's next. So I'm going to go with Diana Purrazzo, although I'm not counting ODB out, but I'm just thinking long term. going. Otherwise, it's ODB's going to have it for a short term, and the only other credible challenger will be Deonna Purrazzo, because I don't see Jordan Grace going back for the knockouts title anytime soon. So unless they have like Havoc go for the title, or even Susan go for the title if ODB is champion, you know.
I don't know about the Susan thing. I think she's playing that character extremely well.
Fantastic. The match with ODB tonight was absolutely hilarious. I was laughing throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, I think it was classic Karen. So I think Susan will be turning back to Sue Young or Susie very soon. But definitely a very cool character. And I love the way that when you sign someone like Sue Young, you get 3 characters in one. Now that is what I'm talking about, mate. That's good value for money. That's what that is. That's good value for money. Okay, so Joe and Steve, you're going to go with Jan on this one. I'm going with my heart. I'm going with ODB. That then leads us into match 7, which is another Impact Tag World Title match. Now, I found this one interesting because on the Impact page itself, they lead with this one, and then the Knockouts Tag Title match follows it. So it's almost like they're elevating the Knockouts Tag Title match in this one, because it's basically the undercard to the World Unification match. So we've got the Impact World Tag Title match, the Good Brothers versus New Japan's Finjuice. Now, this past week we saw the contract signing. Now, what what they're the young boys thing. Every time I hear that, it's hard for me, because in the UK, if you say, "Oh, you're my young boy," if you were talking about the young boy thing, you'd be talking about something that not so I don't know how to put it, but yeah, not so desirable, shall we say, in this world. But so I always cringe when they call them young boys. But in the wrestling world, basically, it just means that they're green and they're up and coming, and they sort of kind of. And I know in Japan they have this whole kind of like, when you're, it's a bit like being an apprentice, isn't it? Like you're just a skivvy for all the qualifieds and all the, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what they're alluding to when they call them the young boys of the Good Brothers. And they're now coming through. They want to prove themselves. They want to show the Good Brothers that they are the future of tag team wrestling. I think that's where we're coming from with this. And I've got to say this now, they were not drinking whiskey. It looked like bloody hot chocolate to me. Right. There's no way they were drinking that. That whiskey was not, they weren't. But do you know what I do love? I love the way that Big LG says, "Could you double me up there?" And then he gargles it. I think that's hilarious. So, this I think is a tough one. I think obviously for me, the Good Brothers are going to win. There's no way the Impact title is going to end up in New Japan. I don't think, on a New Japan talent. I don't see that happening. But what I do think is this is going to be one hell of a match. I think it's going to be good. We all know that the Good Brothers got great in-ring psychology. They're great at telling a story. They're great at building a matchup, which they've already done. But we also know that Finjuice, from what we've seen so far, have got great chemistry in the ring. They're fast, they're young, they're enthusiastic, and they've got a great offensive, arsenal. So, for me, I'm going to go with the Good Brothers on this one. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Again, it's pretty obvious that the Good Brothers are going to be walking out on top with the bragging rights and the titles. I've been a bit underwhelmed, to be honest, with how the Good Brothers run so far, but that's not down to them. That's down to the fact that there is just no other tag teams out there for them to beat after they've beaten Storm and Saban. So it's that Impact needs to rebuild its tag team division now, and so by having this match in New Japan, it gives them time to rebuild from the ground up again.
Yeah.
So I've got no qualms with a New Japan talent getting this title match. I'm just been a bit disappointed that we haven't seen the Good Brothers really defend it all against Impact Wrestling's tag team roster. But then
for me, before we hit into Steve's here, the only benefit to Finjuice potentially winning the title, the Impact title, is that they take it back to New Japan, right? Then the Good Brothers go to New Japan and they have a title match on New Japan TV.
Yeah,
Mm.
I don't. I think the Good Brothers are going to win, and they might continue this way on for a bit longer, which will be great because if they have a rematch at Rebellion, that would be good. And I'm hoping now in this match we see a bit more of a grapple game from Doc Gallows, because we know he's a good striker, but I've not seen a lot of his other technical ability. And Finjuice are really going to really good at dodging strikes, dodging massive kicks and those massive arms he's got. So
Yeah.
it's going to be good to see Doc Gallows have a bit more versatility, because Carl Anderson's amazing.
Oh, incredible talent, both
and,
of them.
And so I've seen Doc Gallows fly. You know, he's like the Undertaker when you see him take off. But I just want to see a bit more from Doc Gallows, a bit more versatility, and we're going to get that in this match. So it's not the biggest match on the card for me, but it's still one that isn't going to disappoint when I'm watching it.
I think it's going to be a good match. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, as I say, like you, I both feel like you both. I feel like the Good Brothers will win this. And to be honest, I'm not overly fussed with how the match came about. It's kind of to me, it feels a bit similar like how we were talking earlier about Kenny Omega kind of coming in and maybe having the Impact title back over in AEW. It's kind of the same with this, where the tag team titles could go over to New Japan. It feels just a bit different because it feels like Finjuice have just kind of come in, gone straight to the top, and then could just take the titles. Where there's not been a huge amount of story to get them there, though. That's the trouble. It's just like they've come in. Oh, hi guys, we know you. Shall we have a tag? Shall we have a tag match? That's kind of all it is. They haven't really been built up to the match. They had one match with Reno Scum, and that was it, really. And with all due respect to Reno Scum, as much as I love them, they're not a team that are near the top of the card.
I think with regards to the story, I think they're relying on the fact that obviously there was a relationship with the Good Brothers and Finjuice, well, Juice Robinson and David Finlay at New Japan. So they're relying on the fact that was the case. They're relying on the fact that they were the young boys, of them being veteran stars, and so I think they're relying on that being the sort of the connection and the catalyst to this whole thing, so, but again, you're right, there hasn't been a massive build, just the fact that we know that there's been a previous relationship between the two teams. That's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Michael Elgin and Marufuji. We didn't know a lot about the history between them two, but that match was awesome. So it's not one to be discounted that it's going to be disappointment, but it was a bit out of the blue.
Yeah, and I believe they've sent Finjuice over here because they're in America and they can't get over to New Japan because of the COVID sort of travel restrictions. So even if they were to win the titles, they wouldn't be able to take them back to New Japan anyway.
Well, yeah, not at the moment, but there is a potential that they could. And also, they are running stuff. They are doing stuff on US soil, aren't they, as well? So there is still a potential that it could turn up on New Japan, just maybe not in Japan itself, just on New Japan programming. And again, New Japan have got their own set of fans in the US as well as in Japan. They've got quite a cult following, haven't they, in the US? So, I just think, and a lot of those guys don't necessarily watch AEW or Impact. So, if you can get Finjuice to defend that title, even if it is on US soil against the Good Brothers, but it's on New Japan programming, then you're introducing Impact to, what Impact can offer to another, set of fans. So, and even if you only picked up, 2% of that or 1% of those guys, starts watching Impact, well, that could be, 20,000 people that we're not got watching the show at the moment. So it's that's I love the way that they're doing this, because I think it is working for Impact. It's working really well. So okay, so move on from that one. We then got the Knockouts title tag title match. between Fire and Flavor versus Jordan Grace and Jazz. Now, this past week, we saw Jazz beat Flavor, Tasha Steelz. And, you know, I thought this was a quite a good match, actually. Like,
It was a brilliant match, yeah.
it was, yeah, I mean, the in-ring psychology of that match was so strong. It was really good. And again, you know, just proves how good Jazz is, in a sense that, you know, we know that she can't go as well as she used to, but she's got arthritic knees. She's got body issues, aches and pains. But, you know, she looked really strong in this match. And you know, I was impressed with the way this match panned out. I thought it was really good. What did you think on this one, Steve?
Yeah, like I say, you know, this that this sort of feud, or not, it's not even really a feud, is it? It's kind of been put together because this is kind of one of the only other tag teams you've got. But I've kind of thought going into this that Jordan and Jazz would kind of take the titles. However, this last week when Jazz pinned Tasha, Booking 101 tells you that they're not now.
Yeah, that normally is what happens. Normally, when you get that, like you say, when you get that one-on-one thing, normally the team that win that one-on-one lose the big match. So you're right. You know, I mean, there is a possibility in there. I mean, I'm going to go with Fire and Flavor simply because they're young. You know, I think they are amazing on the mic and in vignettes. I mean, I love the fact that they commentate their own matches. I think, you know, while they're doing them, I think that's amazing. You know, and again, you know, they've not held the titles that long, so, you know, and I think, you know, your Kira Hogan especially, she deserves a decent run with a strap.
Yeah.
You know, she deserves that. So I'm going to go Fire and Flavor on this one. But then, you know, there is a potential that this could lead to, you know, a couple of matches after, a couple of singles matches that involve Jordan Grace and maybe Tasha Steelz or whatever. So there is a possibility. What about you, Joe? Sorry, you're going to go with Fire and Flavor, Steve, or are you going with Jordan?
I think I will now after this last week. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Joe?
I love the match that Jazz had. Jazz is had this match. She was so fluid. You wouldn't have thought there was anything wrong, as she's pointed out in the past. You know, she's a bit banged up and everything. You wouldn't have thought that watching her in this match. And how it finished with Deonna Purrazzo and everyone coming out of this massive brawl there, that's got me thinking that they've now given the advantage to Fire and Flavor a bit more. But Booking 101, like Steve said, Fire and Flavor are most likely going to come out on top. But then with Deonna Purrazzo coming out and breaking Jazz's arm and Jordan Grace being laid out, I think that Jordan Grace and Jazz are going to pull the ultimate upset and win this match.
Okay, so you're going to go with Grace and Jazz, yeah?
Yeah. Just I do want Tasha Steelz and Kira Hogan to hold on to it for a bit longer. But even if they lose it, then there's no stopping them winning it back again at Rebellion.
Okay.
I think there's a possibility maybe at Rebellion they lose it to Jazz and ODB, Grace and ODB maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's another opposite. I mean, can you imagine those two? You know, do you imagine ODB, Jordan Grace tag team? Oh my God! I mean, you know, I mean, we all know that ODB is powerful. You know, she's a big, you know, she's a strong, powerful woman, and then you put her with probably the most powerful woman on the roster. You know, what a bloody tag team that would be. Can you imagine it? Yeah, there is a possibility of that, definitely. But I'm like I said, I'm going to go with Fire and Flavor. I think they're going to retain. You're going to go with that too, Stephen, and you're going to go.
Yeah,
with,
I will now. Yeah, up
you're
until,
going to go with
this week, I would have said different, but yeah, now I'm going with Fire and Flavor.
Fair enough. All right, and you're going to go with Grace and Jazz, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Right. So moving on to match 9, which is going to be the main event of the night. We learned this past week on Impact Wrestling it's going to be a unification of the Impact and TNA World titles. You know, Rich Swann versus Moose. Wow. This match is going to be amazing. I mean, if you know, No Surrender was it No Surrender? When was it we saw Hard to Kill, wasn't it? When we saw the big match with Moose, Rich Swann, Kenny Omega, and all that.
Yeah, Hard to
You
Kill.
know, yeah. If anything is to go by with regards to Moose and Rich Swann in that match, we're in for one hell of a ride on this one. I think it's going to be an absolute slobber knocker. I think that if we're going to go, or if we're thinking that a Rebellion, Kenny Omega is going to win the title, I think that means that Rich Swann needs to win at Sacrifice to lose the title for then Moose to then ultimately win it back at Bound for Glory. That's my long-term booking done. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one, Joe?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. As much as Moose deserves the win, and everyone's still bitching about Rich Swann not being the rightful deserving champion and all this crap, well, Rich Swann deserves the title as much as anybody else does, and Moose deserves it as much as anybody else does. And for Rich Swann to win this match, it makes the most sense to me. And then Kenny Omega beat Rich Swann, and then Moose either go to AEW and beat Kenny Omega at his own territory, or beat him at Slammiversary or Bound for Glory for the title there. It is, I said it before, Moose will be world champion at some point in this year. It just the longer they leave it, the better it's going to be, regardless of how pissed off everyone's getting that he's not champion now.
He needs that, but for me, he needs a Bound for Glory moment to solidify him as the champion leading into 2022.
Exactly.
That's my thought. It needs to happen then, and then at the point that they've got him signed into a long-term contract, and then boom, there's your hood ornament. Have some of that, and let's face the facts. The dude looks like a champion. He talks like a champion, and he performs like a champion.
Yeah, definitely.
That's for me. What about you, Steve?
Yeah. As I say, I wholeheartedly agree with all that. Part of me wants to say Slammiversary, because every single year Slammiversary tends to feel bigger than Bound for Glory nowadays, but Bound for Glory is still just as big. But yeah, it's hard because every time Moose gets built up and you think this is the time, there's something then that steps in the way, and you feel, hang on, maybe it's not now. So yeah, this does feel like it's the perfect time to pull the trigger, but then it maybe Rebellion is the time for Swann to lose it rather than now, like you're saying. Because I don't really recall Moose and Omega really having too many one-to-one sort of confrontations like Swann and Omega did.
Yeah, they've kept their distance from each other since Kenny Omega's come on.
Yeah.
So there's no heat between Omega and Moose apart from the match they had at Hard to Kill.
No, but
and like I said, I think that's done by design.
Yeah, but I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I'm still not a fan of the unification. I think they still should have kept both belts, but yeah, it's really strange that they've unified them. But like I say,
well, like I said, I think when we were talking off air, I was saying that I think the reason they've done it is so they can combine the lineage. They could combine the lineage to make sure that it really has sort of kind of taken over that belt. They're continuing on the TNA title and it's sort of kind of morphed into the Impact title. Then they could keep that lineage for that, and then they can truly retire the TNA title. That's what I think. I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. But like I said, I think it's going to be an amazing match. Who do you think is going to win?
Yeah. So you guys have sort of swayed me to go to Rich Swann with Rich Swann, and I kind of feel like Yeah, although Moose is sort of saying, yeah, this is his time. Yeah, I feel Moose is the one who's going to bring it back to Impact. So yeah, I'm tempted to go with Rich Swann now.
Okay, so it looks like all three of us are going to go for Rich Swann unifying the Impact of TNA World titles.
Yeah, although I will sort of add, I get a feeling that if Moose loses, I get the feeling we'll have a period, maybe couple of months, like kind of when Storm lost that time to Rude. Was it Bound for Glory or something?
It was a bit of a shock, wasn't it?
Then he just disappeared for a while. I get the feeling we'll have that with Moose.
Really?
Where he just kind of says, oh, I've lost. I'm sort of, and then he just sort of comes back at some point.
Okay,
you know, he sort of
an
takes
interesting take.
Yeah, he just sort of takes himself away. I've got to kind of get myself better than I was before. Maybe.
I just think that they've spent so much time and effort on building him up now to suddenly take him away again, and then start to rebuild him again. I don't know.
Well, no, it's not like they're taking him away. It's kind of part of the story. He's kind of said, "Look, I need to go." It's them deliberately taking him away, kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
And then obviously they'll bring him back with a bang, kind of thing.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. If Moose loses, he'll come back with a bang. He'll be the one to come back, bring the title back, and say, "This is why you should have let me have it in the first place."
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So
it's to stamp home to the fans that just because Moose hasn't won it now doesn't mean he's not going to be champion. In Impact.
No, he will be at some point.
Yeah,
that's true.
I'll be giving my final thought on it a bit more as well. So
okay. And heading into the Joker's final thought of the week. What have you got for us this week, Joe?
I'm going to jump back onto the news about the main event at Sacrifice. We have Moose and Rich Swann now for unifying the TNA title and the World Heavyweight title. Or the World Championship. It's not the World Heavyweight title for Impact Wrestling. There's a lot of thoughts already spiraling out about where it's going to go. Obviously, we've all picked our winners now. Me and Bison, gone for Moose, and Steve's gone. No, we've gone for Rich Swann, and we've got the winners already predicted. The empty space has just crossed my mind, and so
we're all. I think we've all plumped for Rich Swann for the win at Sacrifice.
That's the one. Yes.
Yeah.
People are thinking, oh, this is going to be it for Moose. If Moose doesn't win now, like we've already discussed, if Moose doesn't win now, it doesn't mean that he's going to be going off to AEW. If Moose becomes champion and he goes on to face Omega, it's obvious that Kenny Omega is going to win. Let's be honest. He's AAA heavyweight champion. He's new because he's got the New Japan World Championship. He's the AEW World Champion, and he's obviously going to become. It's Don Callis' plan finally coming into play. He's going to be the next Impact World Champion after Sacrifice. I think it's going to be Rich Swann, obviously going to Sacrifice to
Rebellion.
Yeah, going to Rebellion. Rich Swann and Kenny Omega, they have a score to settle. What is another thing to remember, rather than just chucking that whole storyline out the window. Don Callis did say, "We're not finished yet. We will be back." So, I was expecting Omega to be at Rebellion. I was not expecting it to be for a unified world title match. But the way that they've unified the TNA World Heavyweight title, it's been the right time to do it. I know people have been wanting an extra title. But Scott D'Amore spelled it out perfectly. The TNA World title that Moose has, it symbolizes a lot of meaning, but it's a prop he found in a warehouse. It's not the world title that they had and they've retired. EC3 tried to get it through to Moose, control your narrative, take this title, and then move on to something else. Moose hasn't done that. Moose has still said, "This is the one. This is my championship. This is the one I am going to make." And Scott D'Amore forced Moose to put his money where his mouth is, and that's all that this match at Sacrifice is doing. It's go back to I love the reference at this. Go back to Chris Jericho when he became WCW and WWF World Heavyweight Champion and got the undisputed title together to write off WCW completely. That's where this is going. You know, people are constantly saying, "Oh, why is Impact changed to TNA? Why is TNA changed to Impact Wrestling?" Well, TNA has been gone for at least 6 years.
Yeah.
So, since Global Force Wrestling took over, TNA was written off.
Yeah,
and
I think they need to accept the facts now that TNA is done and it's now Impact Wrestling. And I think you're right. If they unify the titles, then that lineage just moves over to the Impact title, and then it continues on as the Impact title. And TNA is done.
Yeah, and again, going back to all the people that are already saying, "Oh, Moose is going to go to AEW now." If Moose goes to AEW, it's going to be to get the title back to Impact Wrestling. He is Mr. Impact Wrestling for a reason. He's one of the guys that's been for the company for over 4 or 5 years. He's like Eddie Edwards and Rosemary. They've been there for a good 6. Eddie Edwards has been there for at least 6 or 7 years now. Rosemary's been there for about 6 years. Moose has been there for about 5. You know, Moose came in with Mike Bennett, so he's been there for at least 5 years. And Moose has been Mr. Impact Wrestling. He's been one of the best storytellers even for long-term storytelling. You know, we had him go through Ken Shamrock and all the ECW legends to cement that he is the TNA World Title Champion there. So all of that is long-term storytelling finally coming to an end. And so Moose isn't going anywhere, and Moose will be world champion come Bound for Glory at the latest. But I see it being, as Steve said earlier, Slammiversary always seems to be the event where things really do stand out more. So if Moose is going to become world champion, it might be Slammiversary and then a rematch with Kenny Omega at Bound for Glory, which would be a good way to finish off the year.
You could be right. I think no matter what happens, Moose needs to go into 2022 as the world champion.
Yeah, but Moose isn't. This isn't going to damage Impact Wrestling as much as everyone wants it to. Well, no. I say that the marks want it to, not everybody. That's a bit derogatory of me. So apologies to all the diehard Impact fans out there.
No, I don't. It's not derogatory. I mean, they're not going to do anything derogatory, are they? At the end of the day, whatever happens, everything's going to be done for a reason, and it's going to be sent out in the right way. I think you're right. I think that the idea of unifying the TNA World Title, the Impact World Title, just is a way of taking that lineage, moving it into the Impact, and saying that's it, that's done now. This is a new chapter. This is moving forward, and I think it's a good thing to do. I think it's the right thing to do, to move it forward, to say this is it. Draw a line under it. TNA's done. This is us moving forward. And I think that's a great way of doing it. But so there you go. Joker's final thoughts of the week. Based around the Kenny Omega and Moose situation, or Rich Swann situation, wherever we're going to go with this. It's certainly. We've certainly got a lot of mileage in this. I think we're going to see a lot of interesting twists and turns along the way. I do believe that we're going to end up with Moose as world champion by Bound for Glory, and I think that would be an amazing time to do it as well. Now,
you never know who we may get from New Japan or AAA that may get involved in that main event scene.
You just never know. You just never know. That's the beauty of this inter-promotional relationship. Could be anybody.
Is it Tama Tonga has been very vocal on Twitter.
Yeah,
I mean, anyone could turn up on any promotion. That's the beauty of this, right? That's what it gives it, that sort of kind of like you don't know what's going to happen. And I think that like I say, if you take away the the predictability, you create unpredictability. It creates even better television. And I think that's fantastic for the promotions. I'm really looking forward to like say the twists and turns and where this goes. So the last thing to say really is don't forget to subscribe to the channel, guys. Just hit that subscribe button down there, the little red one. It says subscribe. You make sure you hit that one. Give the little bell tickle there to make sure that you don't miss any of the great content coming up every single week from the TNI Total Nonstop Impact Network. Don't forget, we're also available to the audio-only listeners on Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, iTunes, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We are there. So what you'll do, just search out the Total Nonstop Impact, Impacted, TNI UK, whichever you want to do. We'll be there. Make sure you subscribe, give the bell a tickle, never miss a listen. Where can we find you, Steve?
You can find me on Twitter, where I put everything Impact Wrestling related at SimplySteve311.
Oh, we've even got the handshake. You start doing all this stuff next.
I do like the Motor City thing because that is kind of like near enough where I am on the UK.
Yeah, very good. What about you, Joe? Where can we find you, my friend?
Follow the Joker on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
JOK empty space. Just go on to Facebook. Look for Empty Space and The Void. Or if you fancy a Daily Google, look for hashtag Daily Google. You might find me in one or two places there.
Fair enough. And if you're looking to find out a little bit more on the Bison, I am at Lord Bison45 on Twitter. I generally do most of my wrestling discussions on the Twitter sphere, as J Bone would say. But I sort of generally leave the Facebook stuff to my personal stuff, really. But I do a little bit on there, a little bit, but not all. But if you're looking to find out a bit more about the Bison, then check me out on Twitter at Lord Bison45. Well, there we go. I mean, I've been Bison. They have been the man simply known as Steve, and of course, my brother from another mother, the Joker. And that has been this week's episode previewing Sacrifice of Impact.